So are the Lions bringing Josh Reynolds back or not?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is happening, everybody? Matt Daly with you. It is a Friday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, on a Friday, March the 15th, and a Saturday, March the 16th. Thanks for making us your first listen. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, thank you for those of you watching and have subscribed on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We appreciate you. Locked On Lions today is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Follow us on Twitter at Daly Speaks, at Locked On Lions, Matt Daly Facebook fan page, and again on YouTube as well. A lot to get into on the show today. Some more movement with some bit players, as I like to call them, with the Lions, including at the cornerback spot. One corner is leaving, one corner is staying. Lions are bringing their long snapper back. I want to touch on something that's going on in Ann Arbor, but we got to start with Josh Reynolds. It's like a curious case because a year ago, or not even a year ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, toward the end of the season, the Detroit Lions did something in week 18. What was it, against Minnesota, where they were winning the football game and everything was great. And at the end of the game, in order to get Josh Reynolds some bonuses in his contract, they were feeding him the football on little bubble screens, little quick passes for him to pad his stats late in the game in order for him to get like an extra $250,000 in bonuses. And even after the game, when you watch Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell handshake, Dan told Kevin, we were throwing the football to get one of our guys some bonus money. Don't, to get him his bonuses. Don't take it personally. And O'Connell's like, totally get it. You could tell it was a good conversation. And I thought that was really, really cool. Josh Reynolds has been here a couple of years. He's been a really solid wide receiver. Jared Goff and him have great chemistry. He's excellent in the locker room. He's only 29, so he's still got a decent amount of football left in him. And of course, he had been with the Rams, with Goff, Tennessee, and with the Lions. Now his contract is up. And we sit here on March 15th, 5 days into free agency. And again, I'm recording this right now at 2:30. So if you're watching this at 5 or you're listening to this at 6 and something has happened, I had to get this Friday edition of Locked On Lions done. But I wanted to talk about this because it is a curious case. You would have thought, all right, when you look at the Lions wide receiver room and you see Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, Antoine Green, those guys are coming back. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a free agent. Josh Reynolds is a free agent. You got to think that the Lions are thinking about upgrading a little bit at the receiver position, giving J-Mo more opportunities. But the Josh Reynolds thing is interesting because his last game, our last memory of him in our brains, is the NFC Championship game where he was god-awful. He dropped 2 passes that cost the Lions immensely. One, of course, on 4th down, the other on a 3rd down. And, it was a bad day for him. He had a bad day. The guy usually catches everything. The one drop on the slant was like, oh my gosh, how do you drop that? The other one on the 4th down was a little bit behind him and still through his hands. Now you look up and you go, all right, we're 5 days into free agency. The Lions probably need 1 or 2 more receivers. Maybe they'll draft a receiver at 29. Maybe they'll draft a receiver in the 2nd round. All right. We've got a whole month plus to discuss the draft. But here in free agency, there's options for the Lions not named Josh Reynolds. And I'm not so sure I want to go with any of those options. Now, is Mike Williams, ex of the Chargers, a better receiver than Josh Reynolds? Yes. Is Hunter Renfrow from the Raiders a better receiver than Josh Reynolds? Absolutely. Both those guys were cut due to salary cap. Right? They were cap casualties by the Chargers and Vegas Raiders. KJ Osborne, the pride of Detroit. Could you make an argument that the former Vikings receiver is better than J-Rey? You can. So you look up and you go, there's some pretty good players there that the Lions could go out and get. But I think they're going to bring Reynolds back. I've read that the Steelers are interested in Josh Reynolds. I've read that the Giants have interest in Josh Reynolds. We're on Friday, 5 days in, nothing. We haven't heard of an offer. We haven't heard of a visit, not even a visit. Now, we knew that DJ Reader visited with the Lions yesterday because the Lions needed to check him out from a physical standpoint and an injury standpoint. And again, like we said yesterday, we all love, who doesn't love the DJ Reader pickup as a free agent for 2 years and $26.5 million. He and Lee McNeil are going to be awesome. But this is an interesting case for Josh Reynolds because if the Lions decide, man, we can go out and get Mike Williams from the Chargers, I don't think anybody would argue that. He may end up having to go get a 1-year prove-it deal. Hunter Renfrow is more like Amon-Ra St. Brown in terms of he's a slot guy, little guy, gets in the seams, gets in the teeth of the defense. He's not he's got some speed, don't get me wrong. Josh Reynolds is more of an X receiver. He's more of an outside guy. KJ Osborne's a good player. Seems to be like a Lions killer. By the way, speaking of Lion killers, Keenan Allen going to the Bears. You know me, I always rip on the Bears. That's a great move. That's a great move by Chicago. Getting Keenan Allen. That's Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. That's pretty good. But anyway, I think the Lions are going to bring Reynolds back. I think this is almost like a match made in heaven. And again, I know what happened in the NFC Championship game. I'm sure there are Lions fans going, we could upgrade at that position. Let's get somebody bigger, stronger, faster, better. But I think from a culture standpoint and from a chemistry standpoint, I do believe that in the next couple days, we'll be hearing about a Josh Reynolds new contract with the Lions. I have no inside info on it. I've sent out some texts. I've got no replies on that one. But it is interesting here as a lot of these dominoes are falling. And there's still free agents left, good free agents. Tyron Smith, Kevin Zeitler, Julian Blackman. There are good free agents still out there. Reynolds isn't a top 100 free agent. Mike Williams is available. Come on. Good football player. I know he's been hurt a lot. But I think Reynolds is going to end up staying. And I don't think he's as good as Mike Williams. And I think I would take Renfrow over him. I think Osborne and him are very close. KJ Osborne. Good. KJ Osborne's a good receiver. Vikings are going to bring him back. They've got guys already. But I think from a he fits us, he knows us, he likes us standpoint, I think Reynolds will end up staying. I do find it interesting that, again, we're on day 5 of free agency. A lot of players coming off the board. He is still available for the Lions to bring back. So we shall see. Lions have brought in a cornerback on a visit today. This cornerback room is something we got to talk about. Does that mean they're not taking one in the draft? I mean, they just keep adding corners. We'll get into that coming up next right here on a Friday edition of a Locked On Lions. All right, folks, did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood is the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this. Now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA, available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. It's a Friday edition of Locked On Lions, everybody, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Shout out to our everydayers who are out there that are listening or watching. We appreciate all of you. I haven't thrown out some names in a while. I got to do that pretty good. My Harbor Springs insider, JW Scoops, shout out to him. He knows who he is. Big sale for JW pretty recently. So proud of him. All right. And shout out to Heart of a Lions fan, Mike Vanderpool. Get good, Dad. Mike, I'll send you back your sticker soon. All right. You look at the cornerback situation for the Lions, and let's get you the very latest. Number one, Khalil Dorsey is coming back. Remember, he was a star of the preseason last year. Pretty much a guy that got off the street, played really, really well. He was kind of fighting it out with Stephen Gilmore and others during training camp last year. And Dorsey and Gilmore both ended up making the team. He is coming back. The Lions officially announcing his re-signing yesterday. So you look at the cornerback room right now. And the Lions currently have Carlton Davis, Cam Sutton, Amik Robertson, Khalil Dorsey, Emmanuel Mosley, Stephen Gilmore, and Brian Branch. All right. Brian Branch is kind of that hybrid safety / corner, nickel guy, slot guy. And Brian Branch is awesome. All right. Well, today the Lions entertained and brought in former Ferris State legend and Detroiter Tavierre Thomas for a visit. Thomas spent 3 years in the NFL with the Browns, special teamer, backup corner. Spent the last 3 years with the Houston Texans, special teamer, backup corner. But the Lions just and Brad Holmes made a comment a few weeks ago, and he's sticking by it. You can never have enough cornerbacks. All right. You can never have enough corners. So Tavierre Thomas is in for a visit. No word yet on whether or not he has been signed or not as of recording right now. But you look up and you go, where are all these guys going to play? Now, do you need corners to round out the roster? You need cornerbacks and safeties in special teams? Absolutely you do. All right. But we're talking, let's say the Lions added Thomas. You'd be talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners that the Lions have right here, right now with Davis, Sutton, Robertson, Mosley, of course, coming back from that torn ACL, Branch, Gilmore, Dorsey, and Thomas. Tavierre Thomas is, an average football player. He is a very good special teamer, but maybe they're bringing him in for competition. But what does this mean for the draft? I mean, we were doing those mock drafts weeks ago, and it was like this cornerback, that cornerback, and the Lions get this guy. What about my guy, Cooper DeJean? And the one thing we're seeing is the Lions are adding a lot of corners, but what they're not adding is offensive linemen. Like, guessing what Brad Holmes is going to do in the first round is not the best move because Brad Holmes is going to take the best available player. But you have to figure, let's say the Lions signed Thomas. They're not going to take a corner at 29, are they? Where would they play? Right? If you're starting a game and there's 3 wide receivers on the field, the start of a game tomorrow, let's say the season started tomorrow, and Emmanuel Mosley wasn't ready. Let's just say he's not ready yet, coming back from a torn ACL. He wasn't ready this year to start the year. Carlton Davis, Cam Sutton, and Brian Branch are on the field. Next up is Amik Robertson, who you gave multi-million-dollars to. Stephen Gilmore deserves a chance to try and get some run. He had a great preseason last year. His older brother, Stephon Gilmore, still out there in free agency, by the way. Khalil Dorsey showed that he could play a little bit. Again, Tavierre Thomas is more of a special teams ace, right? You let Jerry Jacobs walk. It appears Will Harris is going to be gone. Today we learned Chase Lucas has signed with the 49ers. So I have to figure the way this is going right now is that the Lions, if they were drafting for need, and if you go through every mock draft starting Monday all the way through to April 25th and the first day of the draft, most people are going to mock an offensive lineman to the Lions, whether it's a kid from Duke, whether it's a kid from BYU, whether it's a kid from Kansas State, BB, any of these guys. Barton is a kid at Duke, all right? You got to figure somebody is thinking, most people are thinking, man, Lions lost Jonah Jackson. They need depth on the offensive line. Glasgow's going to play right guard. Is Colby Sorsdahl ready to play left guard? I don't know. But if you can get a beast in the first round, that's what you do. Or is there going to be a team desperate to move up on the first night and the Lions trade back and then add to their O-line room, not once, but twice maybe, and set up a little bit of a competition for that left guard spot? Maybe get two for the price of one. But it's very, very interesting that Brad Holmes, for free agency at least, has really, really hit the cornerback market in a big way. Trading for Davis, signing Robertson, bringing in Thomas for a visit, bringing back Emmanuel Mosley, bringing back Khalil Dorsey. Holmes did say you can never have enough corners. Well, the Lions cornerback room is crowded. Very crowded, at least at the moment right now. As far as Chase Lucas goes, was interesting. There was a report yesterday that the Lions were interested in bringing back their 7th-round pick. He's kind of been practice squad. He's played a little bit, but now he is signed with the San Francisco 49ers. I wish that kid well. He loved being a Lion. Chase Lucas loved being a Lion. And again, our last memory of him as a Lion, when he failed to down the football on the Jack Fox booming punt at the 1-yard line. Everything went wrong. I know I don't want to bring this game up. Why am I doing this? Everything went wrong in that damn game. Oh my God. Everything. Ball hits off a guy's face mask. Vildor. Okay. I'm not doing it. It's a Friday. It's sunny outside-ish. I'm not doing that. All right. Lions are bringing back their long snapper, Scott Daly. That was announced today. Congratulations to Scott Daly for coming back. Of course, last year, Scott Daly got hurt, and Jake McQuaid took over after that, who's been a Pro Bowl long snapper. It's amazing. Lions, of course, had Don Muehlbach for like 18 years, 17 years as their long snapper, and he's still on the staff and a guy that is very valuable in that front office. But the thing about these long snappers is you don't hear anything about them unless they either get injured or have one bad snap. Scott Daly last year was down covering a kick or a punt and got hurt and was lost for the year. Lions have brought him back. He's another guy that teammates love. And so you have to have a long snapper, right? And so Scott Daly is that guy, and today was brought back. Now, again, unless Jake McQuaid gets picked up by a team, he's older. He's like 36, 37. McQuaid, you got to figure, would be on standby at his home somewhere. And then something happens during the season with any team that loses a long snapper, whether it's on a snap or a guy, he gets hurt blocking, or if it's on coverage, then I'm assuming that a guy like Jake McQuaid would come back. But Scott Daly is returning to the Lions, as that was announced today by the organization. They have their, what do you want to call it? Franchise long snapper back. He is back, though. All right. Coming up next, the Detroit Lions yesterday, we talked about this yesterday, did the damn thing with their extensions. They did a great thing with their extensions. Dan Campbell extended through 2027. Brad Holmes, 2027. Chris Spielman, multi-year extension. There are some other operations around here that could learn from the Lions. Yeah, I said it, and I know. We never used to say that back in the day. But we are now. I will explain next, coming up on Locked On Lions.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more with the #1 sportsbook in America. Right now, you could say goodbye to all the busted brackets because over at FanDuel, they're going to let you bet on every game all throughout the tournament. You ain't got to worry about, being out once one team gets eliminated or anything like that. You're good to go for every single game, men's side, women's side, however it is that you want to go about it. So whether you're betting on a big upset or you're betting on the favorite 1 seed, it's time to go dancing into America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers are going to get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go pick one of those outweighted matchups of the #1 seed going up against the last seed and make sure that you end up winning that $5 bet, because you'll win a little bit off of that, but then you also get that $200 in bonus bets you can use on point spreads, money lines, and much more. And of course, you can even pick who you think will win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and bet on college hoops till they cut the nets down.
It is a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you get your podcast. I mentioned before about free agents that are still available. Kevin Zeitler is a really good guard, offensive lineman, was with the Ravens. He's 34 years old, still available. Trent Brown, the tackle from the Patriots, still available. I wonder if the Lions would look at any tackles and move them over. Tyron Smith is excellent from the Cowboys. I'm stunned that he is still out there and available, although he's 33 years old. Just going to look at Julian Blackmon's a good football player. Mekhi Becton, yeah, no, thank you. Odell, you want the Lions to sign Odell? That is never happening. The Lions aren't bringing him in. Tyler Boyd from the Bengals had a really bad year last year. Available. Who else is still out there? Adoree Jackson, more of a return man than a corner. Should the Lions sign Ryan Tannehill? I'm just kidding. These are just some names that are still out there. Mike Dana, the edge from the Chiefs, former Michigan Wolverine, still out there. Dalton Reisner, guard from the Vikings. There you go. I could see the Lions signing Dalton Reisner. Only 28. Calais Campbell, still going to play at 37, still available. Those are just some names to throw out there. I could see a Reisner signing. All right, so the Detroit Lions have become like the model franchise in town. And I'm not just talking about professionally. I'm talking, we can include college sports for a second. Today in Ann Arbor, athletic director, if you want to call him that, Ward Manuel, relieved Juwan Howard of his duties as head basketball coach. The Donald R. Shepard athletic director, the Mike and Susie Goldstein coach, whatever they say out down in Ann Arbor. J-Ira Nikki Harris, head football coach. Juwan Howard got fired today. Let's just say how it is. And they put out a release, and Ward said all the right things. Juwan is our Fab Five legend. We appreciate everything he did for us, but the direction of our basketball program, we didn't like where it was headed, or the expectations weren't there. Here's the thing. There was a report that came out from theathletic.com this morning that the University of Michigan was hiring an outside consulting firm to help them look into the culture of the basketball program. If you got to hire an outside firm to dive into your culture problems with the basketball program, which are well documented. Your coach punched another coach a few years ago. Your coach had to be restrained this year from going after your strength and conditioning coach, who, by the way, was scooped up by Illinois so fast. This doesn't go on in Allen Park. Like, what? How bad is that at Michigan? And that's pretty damning, because University of Michigan is usually pretty buttoned up on this stuff. I mean, their football program, look how just won a national championship. They go out every single game, whether you like Michigan or not. You gotta know they play hard. Those kids are locked in. Their facilities are top notch. It's probably the best weight room in the world down in Ann Arbor. Down there at Schembechler Hall. I mean, they do it right. All right. But like, you got to hire an outside firm to come in to poke around at your culture for your basketball program. They won 8 games. They won like 8-24. What do you have to like? That doesn't go on with the Lions. How about the Red Wings, right? Everybody's talking about the patch controversy with Priority Waste, but they've lost 7 in a row. Are they going to miss the playoffs again? The Detroit Pistons. Anybody know that on Sunday, the Pistons are honoring their 2014? You wouldn't even know it. Go on their social media. They're busy wishing happy birthday to Cash Doll than promoting their team that was amazing. I covered that team. The Lions are doing everything right. yesterday was really cool. They extended people who need to be extended. They announced it. They had a quote from Sheila. You know, Randy Mueller said it best 2 days ago on this podcast, the former Saints and Dolphins general manager. The best owners are ones that you love to work with, that are willing to go the extra mile, willing to cut a check or two. And that's exactly what the Lions have done with Sheila Hamp. She's been a godsend compared to her mother and father. So it's just, again, it's just another example. Looking at that Michigan basketball situation and how toxic it seemed to have been the last 2 years. None of that goes on in Allen Park. The Lions are in good hands. Good hands. You love to hear it and see it. That's why Lion fans, that's why you watching this podcast or listening to this podcast are so excited for next year. So the Lions seem to have built this right. Their people are vested. Their key people are vested, and it's working out great. So that's awesome. All right, that'll do it for this week. Thanks to everybody for listening, watching, making us your first listen. Check out our advertisers too. Everybody that we talk about advertising-wise, support them as well. Have a great weekend, everybody.